Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Monday. It is the start of a new week. And as you can tell by that, it's the start of a pretty big week, isn't it? Arsenal finally, I was going to say finally have their striker. But of course, it's not complete yet. He hasn't signed on the dotted line yet. He hasn't held up that shirt with Gyokeres 10, 14, I don't know, whatever number he chooses. But Viktor Gyokeres, barring any late collapse now, is going to be Arsenal's new striker. And we're going to be seeing this an awful lot next season. Well, hopefully, we're going to be seeing that an awful lot next season. Every time he sticks one in the top corner for the Arsenal in the red and white. So, of course, we're going to talk about that. We've been waiting 2 years, 3 years to sign the striker, the number 9. We've done that now. Well, we're about to do that now. So we're going to talk about that. Of course we are. Really good deal, by the way, I think, this for Arsenal. Pat on the back for Andrea Berta for staying patient, for staying firm, standing his ground. I think he's got a very good deal. On paper, obviously, Gyokeres needs to perform now. But on paper, I think he's got a very good deal. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Cristhian Mosquera as well, as that deal is expected to be done this week. Just as I'm literally starting to record this, some reports have emerged from Spain, potentially saying that agreement has now been reached with Valencia. I haven't been able to confirm that yet, but that's something I'm sure we'll see progress potentially through the next 24, 48 hours or so. But Arsenal are hoping to get that wrapped up this week before they fly off to Asia at the end of the week for the pre-season tour, hopefully with Viktor Gyokeres on that flight as well. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Nwaneri as he gets closer to signing a new Arsenal contract. Really good, positive news today. What a brilliant start to the week this has been. How many Mondays have we sat here like, oh, what are they doing? Are they got to get their finger out. The clock is ticking and all that. But none of those complaints today, is it? It's just a very happy Monday, which is what we all want. Let's face it. That's how we all start the week. So let's get stuck into it. And of course, we've got to start with Viktor Gyokeres, who after a day of talks yesterday. Now, in the show we did yesterday, I was speaking about this and I was talking about the sort of firm stance or the firm public comments that the sporting president, Federico Varandas, had said about Gyokeres going on strike and not turning up and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, you can say that publicly. He has to. He hasn't really got another choice but to say that publicly. But at the end of the day, the player always wins, really, in this situation. I thought it would happen. I thought it would happen this week. I have to admit, I didn't think it would happen as quickly as yesterday. So Sporting's president, very tough to start, sort of didn't last very long. But agreement has now been reached in principle. Sporting have even confirmed that now. Late last night, they confirmed that agreement has been reached in principle. The big sort of breakthrough in this seems to have been that the agent fees that were going to be owed, or at least a significant amount of the agent fee that was going to be owed to Gyokeres' agent, has been waived to get this deal over the line. So it's 55 million initial fee Arsenal are going to be paying Gyokeres, with a further sort of 8.6 million in potential add-ons. So it takes it to grand total of just sort of under 64 million if all of those add-ons are reached. But it's a 55 million initial fee for Gyokeres. And I mean, I think that's just a really good deal. Whatever, and I know people have got reservations about Gyokeres. We'll talk about that in a minute. But whatever your reservations, when you've got a record like he has got and had in the last few years, first at the Championship, but then obviously in Portugal, and the sheer amount of goals he's scored, you're going to be worth a lot of money. You're going to cost a lot of money. So I think for Arsenal to get him for 55 million initially, I think it's a really, really good deal. And I think Andrea Berta deserves a big pat on the back for the way he's handled the negotiations in this deal. Hasn't been easy. He's had to stand his ground a fair bit. I bet there's been fair bit of brinkmanship going on behind the scenes in terms of those talks between Sporting and Arsenal. But he's got his man. He's got his man before they go off on the pre-season tour, which is what Arteta would have been absolutely demanding. And Andrea Berta's gone out there and done that. And Arsenal have got their big number 9. Now, I've flip-flopped quite a few times, and I've said this on here about whether I was Team Sesko, whether I was Team Gyokeres. So for a couple of weeks I was Sesko, then I was Gyokeres, and then I was Sesko, then I was Gyokeres, which to me was basically I was undecided. I wasn't sure. I would have been absolutely happy with both of them. I think both have got real qualities. I think both can add different things to this Arsenal team. I was kind of always just on the side of Gyokeres, just because maybe I was just swayed by that goal record, albeit in Portugal, which was just absolutely incredible. And his sheer desire to score goals, which just comes through when you watch him play, the physicality, the determination to get in and around the penalty area, to drive towards the box, to score goals, to get shots away whenever he possibly could, to just lever the ball, which quite frankly is something this Arsenal squad has been missing. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to bring. No transfer is a guaranteed success. Every single transfer comes with a risk. And again, there's people I know, and I'll bring up a comment here actually. It was from the Inside Arsenal Discord. It was from Charlie just going into this. And he talks about, he says, as the Discord know, and we regularly discuss, I'm against this Gyokeres signing. We are an Arsenal sporting household, so I've watched him play a lot. My main concern is for the long term. The club have continued to rise over the last few years with the scouted and Mikel signings. This one clearly isn't either. This is all on Berta. I, for one, am concerned that we are deviating from what has found us success. It feels a bit trying to stamp my authority. If Sesko wasn't available, grab Watkins and wait for Isak to move next year. Now we've priced ourselves out of Isak, probably ruined things with Sesko. If this doesn't work after going against the club's previous methods, then what sets the club back a bit? Do you think it's wise for the club to back what is ultimately a single person's decision who is now new to the club, and to the league? I think you're overthinking this, Charlie. There is no way Mikel Arteta wasn't happy with this signing. If he wasn't happy with this signing, Gyokeres wouldn't be here. I think it's fairly obvious that from Arsenal's chase of Sesko that Gyokeres was Sesko was probably Arteta's desired target. But he would, if he didn't want Gyokeres, he would have said, absolutely not, we're not signing him. Go and get me Ollie Watkins or something like that. So Arteta will be perfectly happy with this signing, trust me on that. And I also think, I don't think it's necessarily absolutely a bad thing if someone else, it's kind of what we wanted with Berta, was someone to come in with a different view, different opinions, different way of working, because Arsenal have been great under the previous sort of regime of Arteta and Edu, but they haven't got themselves over the line in that. So maybe they needed to do something a little bit different to try and get themselves over the line. So I'm not worried about it. I have to say I'm actually quite happy that it seems to be another strong voice at the club who's come in and sort of moved the club forward a little bit in terms of their thinking. Ultimately, as I said at the start, every transfer comes with a risk. If it doesn't work out, then fingers are going to be pointed, obviously, at those who have been behind the scenes doing the deal and who've been pushing for Gyokeres. But I just don't think Gyokeres at all is someone that Arteta didn't want. He would have given the green light to this signing. No way does a player come in without Arteta green lighting it. Bobby Balls and Ballier has got in touch here. They're far more happy about the Gyokeres signing. Bobby says, really happy that Gyokeres deal seems done. What I love about him is desire and determination to score goals. It looks as though he'd run through his own grannies to score a goal. What I like about all of our transfer business so far, it's clearly with the ambition of winning now. Cristhian Mosquera, and I generally don't think we could have had a better window. Balu says, hi, Charles. Hope you settled into your new home by now. Thank you very much. I'm happy how Gyokeres deal developed over the last 24 hours. I was worried this may drag on until the end of August. Question, based on what you were saying in recent days, I assumed you don't believe Eze to Arsenal will happen. What do you know? Is it based on a hunch? David and Fabrizio said it's a separate deal to Madueke's. What's your info when it comes to Arsenal? I believe you as much as them, maybe more. I don't think I've ever said that I don't think Eze will not happen, have I? I'm trying to rack my brains. I've said I don't think that Madueke, Eze and Rodrigo will happen, but I've never said that I don't think Eze will happen. I still think there's a very good chance that Arsenal will go out and sign Eze. I think there's going to be probably one more signing after Mosquera's done and Madueke and Gyokeres are confirmed. I think there will probably be one more signing. I imagine that Arsenal will probably move on to trying to sell some players once Mosquera and Gyokeres are done. I think they'll then put a bit of priority into bringing a little bit of money into the club, back into the revenue. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if they make a move for Eze. I don't think I've ever said that he won't be coming. It's just the three of them. Not sure we'll see Eze and Rodrigo like some people seem to suggest. So there's some of the reaction to the Gyokeres news. Love to get your thoughts on it. What you think? How happy are you that Gyokeres is signing? Is he the guy for you? Should it have been Sesko? Whatever your thoughts on it, let me know in the comments below. Right, as I said at the start of this show, just before I started recording, fresh reports had started to come out of Spain. I'd just seen one that an agreement has pretty much been reached now between Arsenal and Valencia for the transfer of Cristhian Mosquera, the defender that we know Arsenal have been chasing for a while now. They've already had one bid knocked back. We've been waiting for that second bid to go in. And as I said, that report from Spain suggesting that of a fee of just under sort of 20 million euros has now been agreed for Mosquera, multi-talented centre back, can play right foot where he's predominantly right-footed, but he's very good with his left foot as well. Could also potentially fill in at right back if Arsenal need that sort of full-back, right-back option. If there's issues with Timber and with Ben White, he could potentially play there. He is this sort of young, up-and-coming defender that the club wanted to sign, having missed out on Dean Howson and Viktor Gyokeres, obviously in January as well, who ended up going to Manchester City. Arsenal have made the move for Mosquera, and it looks like that is going to happen this week. That is the aim. That's what Arsenal are working towards, to get him on board potentially before the trip to Singapore. I think they leave. I thought they left on Friday, but I've got a feeling it might be Saturday. It's the 19th that they're going to be flying out. And they've got a pre-season behind closed doors game at London Colney, I believe, that morning on Saturday. And then they're going to fly out later on that day to heading out to Singapore for the start of the pre-season tour. And Arsenal working hard this week to try and get a deal done for Mosquera, which would be excellent. And it would just add to the feel-good factor, I think. We've been waiting so long for this striker, haven't we? And I always felt that the Madueke deal has got as negative reaction as it has because it's seemed like it was going to be happening before the striker, and everyone was like, they're spending too much on Madueke, that's going to stop them getting the striker. And I do wonder if things will, certainly the real fierce criticism of the Madueke deal will die down a little bit now after the striker has been signed. And it'll be a good week. I mean, if you can get 3 players signed this week before you go off on tour, Mosquera, Gyokeres, Madueke, that's a really decent week, squad building wise, heading out to Singapore. So we'll wait and see if this Mosquera deal does get done this week, but it certainly seems to be moving forward now. Arsenal really pushing to get this deal done for the defender before they fly out at the end of the week. Ethan Nwaneri as well, potentially. I don't want to put a date on Nwaneri because it's really hard to. He's still on holiday as well. There's a picture of him from his Instagram, the caption that he put up, good work away with the team. He's ready. He's been working very hard. Be interesting to see because he had the Euros with England, obviously went all the way to the final, won the Euros, the under-21s Euros. So technically, I don't think he will have to go out on the tour. He could join up afterwards because they want, Arteta and Arsenal always want the players to have a solid 3 weeks rest during the summer at least. But it'll be interesting to see if he does go out on the tour. He didn't play that much at the Euros, obviously trained a lot. So we'll see on that. But yeah, good positive signs on Nwaneri's contract. Real progress has been made over the last few days. Sammy Motbell at the BBC reporting yesterday. Fabrizio Romano also reported on it that he believes potentially something could happen in principle this week for Ethan Nwaneri, which again, sort of linking it back to the Madueke deal and the anger over that deal. If Arsenal sign Gyokeres and they get Nwaneri to sign, then a lot of the criticism and the reasons for the criticism over the Madueke deal kind of go away a little bit. Still got the price tag and all that sort of stuff, but everyone was looking at it saying Ethan's going to go because Madueke is coming in and it's going to block his development. Well, if that doesn't happen, Ethan signs, when that's sort of quietens that argument, and also Arsenal go out and get Gyokeres as well. And we all want Nwaneri to sign, absolutely no doubt about it. He's such a quality player, Arsenal boy. You want him to sign, you want him to progress, you want him to develop. So it'd be fantastic if Arsenal could get him signed to a long-term contract. And all the signs are now that could well happen relatively quickly, which will just be a massive boost. Absolutely no doubt about it. The squad are already out, obviously, over in La Manga, training hard at the moment. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see some pictures of it. Arteta, Saka, Gabriel, all enjoying the sun, taking a bit of a break. You got the new boys settling in over there, Norgard, Kepa, Zuba, Mendy as well. Havertz going to have some real competition for that number 9 spot now with Gyokeres coming in, which will be really, really interesting. Does that take his game up to another level, which would be scary if it does, because I think Kai Havertz is such a fantastic footballer. I still think he's going to play an awful lot of football this season, and he's going to have real competition now for that number 9 spot. It'll be interesting to see who starts at that game at Old Trafford on the opening weekend of the season. Right, let's move on to some questions and comments, shall we now? And Ollie has got in touch here. Says, afternoon, Charles. Very exciting to see there might be a conclusion now for Gyokeres. Last season, we got to see plenty of Ethan Nwaneri. This season, most of the fans might be expecting similar opportunity given to Max Dowman. but I understand it is more likely we only see him in a lesser cameo role suited for his age. Can we look forward to getting glimpses of any other youth prospects this season other than those we've already discussed? I was thinking about this when I was reading your question, and I would be surprised this season, I have to say, when you look at the size of Arsenal's squad. Obviously, I think a few players will probably go between now and the end of the window. But Arsenal's squad, what they've done this summer, they've added real depth to that squad. When you look at the goalkeeper, you look at if Mosquera comes in defence, you've got real quality number of defenders there. Obviously, signed Norgard as well. You've got Madueke in. I just think it limits the amount of numbers. I think we'll definitely see Max. I don't think we'll see Max anywhere near as much as we saw Ethan last season. I think Ethan played about 31 games last season. I'd be surprised if Max Dowman gets more than 5 appearances this season. I mean, he's still literally 16-year-old kid. So I'd be surprised if we see him play more than 5. But who knows? He might make me absolutely eat my words. If he goes over on tour and absolutely smashes it over in Singapore and Hong Kong, plays really well and sort of forces Arteta's hand, then who knows? We might see him play lots, but I'd be surprised. But in terms of other youth prospects, I don't really see it at the moment. It's a very, very young group Arsenal have got sort of underneath the first team at the moment. And other than Dowman, I don't really see anyone sort of really forcing their way into the squad this season, I have to say. Marco's got in touch on the Inside Arsenal Discord, says, hello, Charles. With all the talk about transfers, I wanted to ask you about the significance of the players we already have. What do you think it's going to take for players such as Martinelli, Odegaard and Trossard to have better season than last season? As I would say, all three were pretty disappointing. Also, I know Rice had a great end of season, but for me at the start of last season, he was disappointing and clearly lacking fitness. What do you think they need to do differently in order to help us have a good season and help us challenge? Well, I think they need to stay fit, which is important. When you're looking at Odegaard and Martinelli, I think their seasons were absolutely went hand in hand with injuries. I think Odegaard, no doubt about it, struggled after that injury. When he came back, he just wasn't the same player, although there were good signs towards the end of the season. I thought Trossard had a good end to the season as well. I thought he was pretty strong. But yeah, I think staying fit is going to be absolutely crucial to that. And I think with Declan Rice as well, he did struggle at the start of that season, no doubt about it. I think that was really absolutely 100% linked to the Euros. Obviously, they hadn't had that this summer. They've been full of rest. Everyone's gone away, apart from some of the younger players with England, obviously, and the under-21s Euros with Ethan. But most of them have gone away. They've had a proper rest. They're fine. Their batteries have been recharged, all that sort of stuff. So I think that's going to be really crucial with the players that are already there and just getting them to a new level. I don't think it was just an Arsenal thing last season. I think the overall quality of football last season across the board, across all the big leagues in Europe, I just don't think it was very good. I really don't. I thought it was the worst Premier League season I've seen for a long time last season. I think that was absolutely linked to the Euros. So I think we're going to see a much more high quality product this season. And I would hope that the players you've listed there are going to have a big say, and we're going to see them back to their best. Martine has got in touch, says, hi, Charles. I don't see many rumours on Reiss Nelson doing the rounds. How would you feel about him staying for the coming season? No, I mean, look, when I talk about, I think that some of the priority might shift towards selling a few players once the Mosquera and Gyokeres and Madueke deals are wrapped up. I would have Reiss Nelson sort of very much front and centre of that. He's only got a year left in his contract. If you don't sell him this summer, he's gone on a free. So I think there'll be some effort. Look, Madueke's come in now. Reiss isn't going to play. He's just not, barring a load of injuries. So I think you've got to try and get a bit of money for him if you can. Obviously, Fulham, we know, the interest is there. That's been widely reported since the end of last season that despite the injuries, they are still interested in him. I think had he not got that injury last season, it would have been a much easier sale to do because he was playing very well at Fulham. They liked him there. The fans liked him there. I've got a few Fulham mates and they really liked Nelson. He was making a big impact. So I think had he not got that injury and had to cut short his loan, I think there would have been a real chance for him to definitely make that permanent move. But I think that chance is still there. So we'll have to wait and see on it. But I don't see a way that Reiss Nelson comes back and is a factor in the squad for Arsenal next season. I'd be surprised, Martin. Matt here has got in touch on Patreon, says, hi, Charles. With respect to Madueke, you've made your feelings clear on the deal. I'm curious what your reservations are. Is it just the fee or the Chelsea thing? Would you have felt the same if he'd come from another Premier League side? Who else would you have preferred? Every signing is a risk, but I think he is worth it given the potential. I was not one of those people who was unhappy about Rambo or Kai and have a feeling the signing will work out. Mikel obviously sees something in him. Yeah, I think, I mean, I've kind of expressed my reservations on it. I think mainly I just look at the fee as a lot for someone who, in my eyes, when I've watched him, and I'm just using my eyes test, I'm not convinced he's got the end product that Arsenal need. But look, as I've said, he's only young. He's 23 years old. If Arteta can come in, and as I reported yesterday, Arsenal absolutely believe that they have got a very, very good deal with Madueke. They are happy with the price they've paid, and they think that he could explode at Arsenal, and that in a couple of years' time, his value will far exceed what they're going to pay for him. So that's what they believe. You know, Arteta really wanted him. He's been pushing for this deal, Arteta. So he's got full belief in Madueke. He's got full belief, and the club have got full belief that they've paid good money for Madueke, that it's going to prove to be very good business. And they're far more qualified than I am at these sort of things. So I just hope that they're right. And I hope in 2 years' time, I'll look back on this just as I look back on the deals for certainly Kai, but Ramsdale as well. Was, you know, at the time I was worried about what Arsenal were paying for them and why they were signing them. And now, I was delighted with them after it happened, and they proved me wrong. And I absolutely hope that Madueke does that. So yeah, I think my reservations mainly the Chelsea thing. I don't want to focus on that, but it is just tiring signing players from Chelsea all the time. It's just, oh, for God's sake. But look, he's going to be an Arsenal player now, so I'm putting my reservations to one side. I'm backing him 100%. I'm supporting him 100%. Get him in, get him on board. Let's see why the club have done it, and let's hope that they are absolutely right. And he's an absolutely massive success, because there's clearly a lot of potential there. There's no doubt about it. So I hope that answers your question there, Matt. And that's it from me, everyone. Started like that, may as well finish like that. Have a great day. Enjoy your Monday. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.